Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Sam. Welcome to Code Youngstown. I appreciate you guys coming out. It has been a little bit of a while since our last one. I think, what was it, at YBI, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was.
We had a pretty good turnout, too. So I'm glad that you guys are still paying attention. I'm glad that you're still willing to come out and hang out with us for all the silly stuff that we try to do. This is Code Youngstown. I'm Nicholas Serra. This is Joe Dunko. A couple housekeeping items. Like I said, if you're parked over on that side, that guy's an asshole, he might tow you. Come over to the main parking lot, not the convenience store one. Bathrooms are right over here. Pizza's on us. Fountain drinks are on us. We have full bar over there, so go hit them up if you want an actual drink. We have full menu too. They'll bring it down here, so if you want something else besides pizza, go ahead and place an order over there. They'll get it down to us. Yeah, so basically we operate as a software developer user group. We've had people come and give talks on software development. We do lightning talks. We do just social mixers. We've had folks give design systems talks. We've had project management talks. Basically anything in the software industry world that we can wrangle up and get into the same room just for networking and communication and to help people get hired. We want to hear from those people. We want to get them all together. So if you're interested in doing some kind of talk, if you're interested in doing some kind of event, if you would like to see us do more events more often, because Joe and I suck right now, we're not doing these as much as we should, please just let us know. Find us on Slack. Let us know if you have an idea for something, if you want to give a talk, if you want to splinter off some other kind of subgroup or anything you have in mind that you think we could be doing better, that you think would be interesting. We're just trying to bring all the people in Youngstown together that are in software to try to help each other out, try to help each other succeed in our careers, stuff like that. So just let us know. We're on Slack. We're here now, that kind of thing. If you're not on Slack, codeyoungstown.com is where our Slack is. I think we have 400 something.
It's like 700, but most are bots.
Yeah, so, okay, we have 700 bots in the Code Youngstown Slack who will tell you what they're working on every Thursday. So please join us. That's the easiest way to follow us. We have our Twitter, we have our Facebook, we have our meetup accounts too for when we do events, so follow us there. Follow us somewhere. LinkedIn. I hate LinkedIn. Does anybody actually use LinkedIn?
We got 50-something people said they're going on LinkedIn.
Not a single one of those people is here, so let's be real. LinkedIn is all bots too. Maybe you're right there. Welcome.
It works.
Yeah. So we try to do lightning talks once a year. This is Joe's favorite event. I'm starting to warm up to it too. We do what? Six people, 6-minute talks. So we got a whole range of different subjects. Our speakers, I think we do 5 minutes. One of us will raise our hand. 6 minutes, we're going to come kick you off literally. So let's see, what else do we have as far as Code Youngstown goes?
No, I think that's like everything. Afterwards, we'll do a little like hiring, anything you want to show, those kind of things. But we'll get into the talks first. And again, hard 6-minute limit. So we'll yell at you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're going to kick this off and we'll do like a social hour networking meetup kind of thing afterwards. So grab some pizza, grab a drink. We're going to get mostly set up here. I think we're okay, and then we'll get rolling.
How's everybody tonight? I hope everybody's well. For those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Michael Sekol, and I teach software development at Mahoney County Career and Technical Center. And tonight, I'm going to be talking about teaching in the new AI world, and it's basically the battle against brain rot. Because this, as many of you guys know, I'm talking to many people. Let me know when you start my timer.
Sorry.
Get that mic a little higher too.
A little higher? A little higher? How's that? Is that better? Oh, I can hear myself breathe. Should have gone and died first.
All right, whenever you're ready.
Okay, we're good. So I'm going to play a short TikTok to encourage brain rot. Basically, this is the teacher, and it's going to kind of premise everything that we're doing.
We reached a point with AI where we can confidently say this is not a tool that is revolutionizing learning. This is a nightmare that is destroying learning. I hate the way it sounds when I say this because I'm someone who prides myself on being really open-minded when it comes to change, when it comes to new technologies, but I also can't ignore reality. I'm in the classroom with students every weekday. I see how they're using AI, I see how it's impacting them, and it scares the hell out of me. Not once have I seen a single student use AI as a resource, or in a way that is even remotely ethical. 100% of times when I see students use it, it is so they do not have to think. I'm talking about putting an essay prompt into ChatGPT, not even reading the essay prompt, copying and pasting the results into a doc and submitting it without even reading it over. And I know what some people are going to say, because you've said it in my comments before, oh, that must mean your assignments are terrible. If you gave them something more interesting and relevant, they wouldn't use AI.
No.
Okay, so here we go. Teachers hate AI. Absolutely hate it. They look at it as cheating. Students don't even read the assignments anymore. And then they plug it into ChatGPT or Gemini. Most of them are using ChatGPT. And then they get the response, load up the classroom, and they're not even reading what comes out. Which makes it fun when teachers like me poison the documents that they give them and put in random variable names, and then they submit the assignment. I'm like, told you not to use AI for this. You know, you named dinosaurs instead of Harry Potter characters in my assignments. You know, you used AI. How do you know? I'm not going to tell you, but if you figure it out, you're probably smart enough to do the assignment yourself. So MIT, you know, your brain on ChatGPT is basically, all the studies are coming out that people that use ChatGPT and AI all the time are, you know, losing cognitive abilities, even if you don't realize it. The abstract basically states, you know, from Wharton is, I can't read that from here. But basically, when you use Google, at least your brain had to process some of the information. It had to think about what you were doing. With AI, it completely removes that. So, you know, this happens a lot. I don't know if any of you guys have used AI and like ChatGPT has gone down when you're in the middle of trying to figure out a coding problem. Like, what do I do? Well, it happens to students all the time. It's amusing whenever it goes down because they just freeze. So we're going to skip this one here. Okay, so I've heard a lot, teach them to use it right. You know, you're just not teaching them how to use it. And I kind of agree with that. But you also have to keep in mind, everybody here graduated when, you know, you had critical thinking in math, you had, you know, critical reading skills you had to develop. You guys have already developed it. So when you're using AI now, you're applying what you've already learned to it, so it's not having the same impact as never having to think, right? Kids that are coming up now, they've never been required to do critical thinking, right? They haven't done critical reading, they haven't had to do math without the ability to just dump a math problem into AI. So, you know, revealed thousands of UK university students caught cheating using AI. So everybody's going to use AI. It's the cat's out of the bag. You can't put it back in. So with this in mind, how do you leverage AI to actually improve thinking? So in the middle of the summer, you know, I just happened to be watching a video of, Cleo Abram. I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen her on TikTok. She was interviewing Sam Altman, and she mentioned this term, cognitive tension under time. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it. And I don't know if it's the actual answer, but it's something new for us to try this year in the classroom. And basically what it is similar to strength training, and you guys can tell I hit the gym a lot. It's really about how much time your muscles spend under tension. Like rather, if I could lift 1,000 pounds once, it's not going to do the same thing if I lift 100 pounds 1,000 times over an hour, right? So with that in mind, it's the same thing with your brain. It's cognitive tension under time. So schools like Ohio State, they've launched how they're going to start using AI in everything they do. Everybody has to take AI literacy courses and things like that. But when I read about a lot of these universities, they're talking about, hey, here's our curriculum, and we're going to use AI to augment it. Well, I don't think that's going to work. These kids are still going to cheat. They're still going to find a way not to think. So what we're doing real quick is trying to use AI to increase the mental load over an extended period of time now. And this is the first year I'm really trying to implement it. And here's what that means. I'll just give you curriculum design, AI-centric versus AI augmented. So today, and I made this PowerPoint shortly before I came here. Today we covered Python dictionaries, okay? After the lesson today, I asked the students, I said, in your own words, how would you teach a classmate what dictionaries are, and what example would you give them?
Time.
There we go.
Yeah.
Very good.
So, use AI.
That was the final word.
Oh, so then the idea is, hey, here's my own words. Let me plug those into AI. Here's my thoughts. AI, what am I missing? Okay, and then from getting the feedback, okay, here's what AI tells you. Take that, go to W3 Schools, look up what Python dictionaries are, and tell me what AI missed. So this way, this forces them to go back and forth with the AI to continue their thinking, to grow, so that way I know that they're actually learning it, that they can tell me in their own words. And of course, people are people, we're gonna find a way to cheat. Thanks.
All right, guys, up next, Mitch Jacovetty, excess productivity, how I deployed myself into a corner.
Great. Okay, hi, thanks, Nick. Is this good microphone usage? Up, down, left, right, center?
A little hard.
A little higher. You say that to everyone, right?
Yep.
It always works, I guess, yeah. Okay, well anyway, hi guys, my name is Mitch. So my story starts in early 2020 when I was in a software engineering class back at Kent State Stark. And while I was in the software engineering class, there was a pandemic that started, and that really annoyed me, and I'll tell you why. All our classes went online. Everyone, stopped attending the school or whatever it was. I don't even remember anymore. And instead, we all just kind of joined stuff on Blackboard virtually. And I was in software engineering where there were a lot of group projects. There were a lot of group presentations. And that meant a lot of people where there was like one person who would be like the slide czar sharing their screen so that everyone could see the slides. And then everyone else, when they were presenting, when they were talking about their slides, they had to say, next slide please, a lot. So that the slide czar would advance to the next slide and so they could read off the next set of bullet points. And that just seemed really, undemocratic and against the spirit of higher education. I'm really nervous about this microphone. I don't.
Sound good.
Okay, great. So my idea, as someone who was experimenting with web development at the time, was just to make a server where the slides would show up for everyone, and anyone could click the next button on a website, and it would advance to the next slide. And the slide czar would lose their power, become a slide servant, and just be the person with the best upload internet connection, so that they could do the visual sharing stuff, and everyone could control which bullet points, which educationally crucial bullet points were being displayed on the screen at that one time. And the problem was, this was early 2020. I was just kind of starting to get back into college. I had no real prospects, no money, no idea what I was doing. I couldn't deploy some huge load balanced container cluster to AWS or whatever because I didn't know how, and I couldn't pay for it. But what I did have was a house. I'm just not going to do that. What I did have was a house, or more specifically, my mom had a house that I was living in, and that house had an internet connection. And so I just made people in my group go to my public IP address, so that they could see this web server that was displaying the slides and hit next slide so that none of us had to say next slide, please. And that worked really well. I feel like a lot of people don't realize that you can do this. You know that cable that carries internet into your house? It can also carry internet out of your house. It's not as great as putting stuff on a real server, in the cloud or whatever, but it works pretty well. And unfortunately, over the years, what my main mistake has been, I'm going to check my time. My phone fell asleep. I can't check my time. What I've learned over the years is
3 minutes.
Thanks. A little bit slower that way. Man, you guys can see through the artifice here. I have abandoned the one-house approach, unfortunately. I have stuff deployed to GitHub pages that I myself have not looked at in years, and I have no idea what it is. Stuff that I made, when I was just learning. I have stuff on AWS, on 2 different cloud VPSs. Like the title of the talk says, I kind of deployed myself into a corner where I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Instead of the one-house approach, where, what I was deploying lived at my house, I have to go door to door, to Jeff Bezos' house, to whoever owns OVH or Vulture's house, to whoever owns GitHub's house, just to see the stuff that I have created and that I have deployed. And so basically, a project that I've been working on recently is bringing all that stuff into one place, into one system. Because for some reason, when I get bored, I make websites that people don't ask for. Like I have a website at 3d.corncob.world that's a 3D model of a corn cob. And you can eat the kernels of corn on the corn cob, one kernel at a time. And none of you can verify that because the internet doesn't work down here, and you'll forget it by the time you get back up there, but I promise it's true. Yeah, I don't know. So the point is, I've been working on a server that is built on top of Caddy, which is a static web server, well, a static and reverse proxy web server that I've been using for a long time. The problem with one of my VPSs is that it has a configuration for Caddy that's like 10,000 lines long because of all these different things that I've tried to deploy with it. And so what I've been trying to solve is the problem of putting everything in one place on one virtual personal server without one giant configuration file that's 10,000 times long. So basically what I realized is that houses, not only do they have doors, but they also have mailboxes. What I mean by that is, I created an API that you can use to just post content, including like files or Docker container URLs, to this admin API that's running on this VPS, so that with one line of code in a GitHub action, you can take whatever content that you're building in your GitHub action for your project and put it online where everyone can see it. So it looks like this. I don't like standing back here because I can't see half the, oh well. And it looks like this. So basically all you have to do is run the CLI client, tell it where to deploy stuff to, along with my mini websites. I also have a lot of domains. I do own stuffedanimal.family. And that will do two magical things that is really helpful when it comes to putting everything together in one place. One is Caddy will generate automatic HTTPS certificates for your website, and the other thing is that GitHub will generate a token that automatically authenticates that this request is coming from like a certain GitHub user who's triggered a certain GitHub action, so that without like secrets or permissions or whatever, you can take this stuff that you have built for your website and put it in your house, through your mailbox as you do, and make it available to everyone in the world. And that's my project.
Oh, perfect.
How much time do I have? Oh, wait.
All right, folks. David Pokrivnak with what Lana Del Rey can teach us about good UI design. Hello.
Thank you to Code Youngstown for having me. When Joe mentioned the 6-minute lightning talks, that I meant we had 6 minutes to write the lightning talks, so this is going to be pretty quick, pretty dumb, pretty fun. So yeah, personal intro. I'm DJ. I work for Blast Point in Pittsburgh. I work with Joe Dunko and Brandon right there, who's wooing. This is going to be the first in what will hopefully be a short but memorable series of mini lectures on making product design principles memorable, and even if you're not a SaaS designer. So full disclosure, this is, again, absolutely a half-baked idea, and I can't think of a better guide than our modern muse of melancholy than wisdom, Lana Del Rey. So, Lana Del Rey, for those who haven't had the pleasure, though you really should, she's a singer, songwriter known for her cinematic, nostalgic, and often melancholy style. To many, she's a pop icon, a modern-day chanteuse of heartbreak and glamour. But to me, she's a design mentor. With her guidance and some suspension of disbelief, let's dive into some concrete UX lessons based on her words. We were born to die. Every product feature has a life cycle. Birth, use, obsolescence. Before a feature even launches, think about how it might one day retire. Build it so it can be removed cleanly, know what it depends on it, and make sure user data survives the transition. Design for graceful deprecation, don't strand your users. When the time comes to retire a feature, do it gracefully. Warn users, make a migration path, avoid making them feel strained or punished. Don't make me sad, don't make me cry. What Lana's telling us here is error messages should reassure, not punish. Why it matters. Errors are moments of frustration for users. Poorly worded or harsh errors create negative emotional responses, making users abandon tasks or products. Friendly, helpful messages reduce friction and improve trust. Graceful error messages look polite, clear, something like, oops, something went wrong, let's fix this together. Tell the user how to recover, not just that they failed. These are just little tips from Lana Del Rey. Lesson 3, will you still love me when I am no longer young and beautiful? Products and UI inevitably age. Why it matters. Even well-designed features eventually feel outdated. Users notice design trends that age poorly, overly flashy patterns, illegible fonts, styles, gimmicky interactions. Designing only for trends risks needing constant redesigns. What enduring design looks like: clarity, legible typography, predictable interactions, consistent visual and functional layouts. These things reduce friction and learning friction. They also help with future proofing. Consider how colors, fonts, layouts, and accessibility will hold up over time. Avoid gimmicks that look cool today but confuse users tomorrow. Just like the lyrics ask about enduring love, your UI needs enduring usability. It's you. Oh. Sorry, that was my alarm. It's you, it's all for you, everything I do. The fourth and final lesson from Lana. Today. There's more, just this for today. UX should always be about the user, not about your assumptions or preferences. It matters because it's easy to design based on what you think looks cool, convenient, or clever. Features built on assumptions instead of needs often actually frustrate users and aren't actually helpful. User-centered design looks empathetic. You will test and validate ideas with real users or representative scenarios. You'll have feedback loops and iterate based on data, not gut feeling. Avoid designing for your own preferences without considering the user. Ignore patterns or common practices that users expect, or over-engineering features that users don't actually need. So I leave with you this encouragement. Find design truths everywhere. The best designers aren't just textbook followers. They're curious observers of culture, emotion, and human behavior. Thank you.
I'm Rob. I'm a software engineer from Hubbard, Ohio. And I created a little side project called Cahoots a while ago. And my original intent was to make it a whole AI software development platform. But then I discovered this one really interesting problem area. And it's called task decomposition, which is way more simple than it sounds. So what is task decomposition? It's basically just the process of breaking down a complex task into smaller, more manageable subtasks. It's a fundamental human thing. It's one of the things that separates us from the other animals. So what does it consist of? Well, you need to identify your dependencies. You need to know what order you're going to do things in. At the end of it, you need to ensure completeness. So how do you do that? How do you know that the subtasks that you broke out cover the original task? You need to reach a certain level of specificity. So the tasks that you come up with need to have something actionable. You need to be able to implement them. And then if you're working in a group, there's another hidden task that is turning it into something that others can use. Like, what is the point of doing all this work, planning a project out, if we can't share it with anybody? So it's a really hard thing to do, and we kind of suck at it as a species. So we have a very limited working memory. When you're decomposing a task, you need to be able to hold the big picture and the small details in your mind at the same time. We're inconsistent. We all do things differently. We all work differently. We have a hard time making decisions. It takes us a while. We have to talk about it. We have endless meetings and arguments and Slack threads. We're biased. We don't all like to do the same thing. Some of us like to work in certain areas of a project. And then we get bored. It's a very boring undertaking to say, hey, I want to build this application. And then you have to spend weeks or whatever before you can write any code because you need to actually plan it out to validate what you're building. There are some existing tools in our arsenals. The basic one is brainstorming. That's pretty much what everybody does when they want to start a project. You just come up with as many things as you can think of and hope that you come up with everything. There's some more structured approaches. WBS, I'm not sure everybody's familiar with it. You basically just build a little hierarchy graph of tasks with dependencies clearly shown. Once you have some tasks, there's Kanban, which helps you keep track of like your workflow. And then finally there's the agile tools, things like Jira, Trello, whatnot, where you break things down into stories and tasks. So where does AI come in all this? AI has a large working memory. It can easily hold your project, no matter how big it is, in its mind all at once. It's consistent. It does things generally the same way. I mean, AI is non-deterministic, but it generally follows the same paths every time. It makes decisions instantly as far as we're concerned. It doesn't spend time deliberating. It doesn't care what it's working on. You can give an AI any task and it's equally happy to do it. And then it never gets bored. Again, it doesn't even know what it's doing, so it doesn't have the capacity to get bored. Now, I showed some of the older tools that we're all familiar with, but there's some newer ones. So your basic LLM clients, your ChatGPT, your Gemini, you can, pretty much everybody's done this, where you just ask it, hey, how do I do the thing that I want to do? And it can generally give you a pretty good set of steps, even to pretty fine detail on pretty large projects. But it's hard to share the results or to get it into something like that you could actually use as a project plan. There's this cool app I found called Buzz by Hive, where you feed it a prompt and it can give you a whole project plan with time estimates and various tasks to complete. I recommend visiting it if you want to check it out. It's free to use, just to start with at least. And then lastly, there's Cahoots. That's the thing I built.
1 minute.
All right. So Cahoots, what it's all about is you feed it a prompt and it generates a complete project plan, which is all of the tasks that you would need to do in order to complete that project. It can connect to your GitHub repository, so if you want to add a new feature to an existing project, it'll tell you how to do that, and it'll actually use what you have currently as the basis. It's agentic. It has access to web search and some retrieval augmented generation for like commonly seen patterns and tasks. It's capable of discovering epics, user stories. Just from a basic prompt, it can generate a full set of user stories and tasks for you. And then finally, you can export it to Trello and Jira.
That's time.
Okay.
Any last word?
I'm trying to get a demo going at my table if anybody wants to check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, Chase Hutcheson. Internet privacy. What is it? Why should you care? And what can you do?
Hello. As you heard from him, my name is Chase Hutcheson. I work with Youngstown right now with Joe Dunko. And I wanted to give my talk about internet privacy because I recently went on a bit of a deep rabbit hole where I got a pixel, I flashed a ROM onto it because I was super privacy oriented for this little bit, and then I realized that's a really horrible way to try to get other people to become more privacy oriented, because when you do privacy, like when you care about it, you really sacrifice a lot of convenience by switching to these privacy focused things. So yeah, what is privacy? I'm going to give you some definitions because this gets confused a lot. Privacy is what info you want given out is what gets out. A lot of people confuse this with anonymity, being completely under the radar. None of your information is tied to your activity. And security is measures you take to prevent your data from getting into the hands you don't want. Why should you care? I get this question a lot when I was starting out my privacy journey. People would be like, why do you care so much? What do you have to hide? And I would always ask them, would you give a stranger your phone? And a lot of people would say no, because there's a lot of stuff on your phone you don't want to have people know. But there's some other reasons I had to. Data breaches is one thing. A lot of the information you give to these web or like corporations like Google and Microsoft, they're not 100% secure. Eventually they're going to get breached and your data is going to be out there. That's how a lot of scammers get their phone numbers for calling you, because they'll search through data breaches. They're on the internet, you could probably find them, and they'll just call through them. Targeted ads, I don't care how much Google tells me, but I don't think them targeting me with better ads and trying to get me to spend my money is a good thing for me. I'm trying to save my money. And not to put on my tinfoil hat here, but the governments do like spy on you a little bit. This is a real life example I found really interesting. There's this WhatsApp alternative called Signal, and they ran this privacy campaign on Facebook where they basically just tell you what they know about you, because Facebook's got a really invasive like ad system to give you a lot of stuff to target you with. And this is what you can do. So there's a thing called fingerprinting. I don't know if you know about this, but when you go to websites, a lot of them will build a profile off you based on things like your operating system, your resolution, your fonts. And on their own, they're pretty, you know, who cares? But when you put them all together, it builds a pretty unique profile about you that these companies can use to track you across websites. So there's browsers like, I don't really recommend it, but Tor, if you really care, and Libre Wolf and Brave, I've used all of these, and they like spoof your info so you can't get, you like blend in with the crowd essentially, so they can't track you as much. Online activity, these are some things you can start doing today. You can use VPNs to route your stuff through a proxy so they can't get your location. Deny all non-essential cookies, like those third-party cookies you see on websites. Those are purely basically for advertisements and tracking, so I would not accept those. And I have a thing called NextDNS, which your internet provider has a DNS that, like, if you don't know what a DNS is, it takes in domain name and routes it to an IP. So when you type in google.com, it'll send you to Google's IP. And the internet companies do log all of your stuff, but you can route your DNS traffic through something like NextDNS, so you can keep the logs to yourself. You can block incoming and outgoing traffic on your devices. And I used it when I had my Android to stop a lot of the Google IPs that were used mostly for tracking and ad services. Cool. Yeah, desktop and mobile devices. I know iPhone's pretty good about it. They'll ask app not to track when you download something. Android, not too good, because it's owned by Google, and Google makes a lot of their money through tracking you. But they do have some things. You can turn off personalized ads on your account. And Windows has them too. I know they got into some hot water about some of their features, like with taking pictures of your screen that they had to roll back, see what they didn't like it. But they do have privacy-oriented settings you can turn off. Online habits, this is a big one because a lot of my problems was going back to all the stuff I made when I didn't care and having to delete it because a lot of your data just stays floating around and you don't remember about it. I had to go through my whole inbox on my Gmail and like sort through it to see what I had signed up for. So when you make an account on something, you should really think, like, if you really need to tie your name and your address to these things. Like, I had stuff for like these one-time use AI tools I found on the internet that I had my name and address tied to. So if you can use these things, but I recommend using burner accounts because you really don't need to tie your name and your address to these one-time things. Using a password manager helps a lot too for security. I use Bitwarden and I have all my passwords like randomized, except like the ones I need to know in case I need to like set up a new account. So that just helps with security. 2FA is really important. I don't know if you guys play video games, but I got my Ubisoft account hacked and I had to go through this whole 2-week ordeal with Ubisoft support, and I probably could have dodged it if I had 2FA on my account. So I would definitely do that. And ad blockers, a lot of the reasons that these companies track your data is because they want to sell you ads. Because
Doesn't work, yeah.
they sell you ads and it makes them a lot of money. So they're going to track you.
Thank you, Chase.
Okay, last but not least, our own Anthony Hake, solving the where using GIS to address spatial problems.
Awesome. Check, check. Is this thing on? All right, cool. I'm ready whenever you guys are.
I'll get the timer going.
And I really hope that camera back there is working because I'm not watching it anymore.
You're good.
All right, cool. Nick pretty much said everything I was going to say, so today I'm going to talk about GIS in 6 minutes or less. Normally I'd put an agenda here. I don't have time for that. What I do have time for, however, is the traveling salesman problem. If you've gone through a computer science degree, you probably already know what this problem is and how to solve it, but bear with me. If you don't know what the traveling salesman problem is, this is Bob. Bob needs to make 3 sales every day at 3 different houses that have varying lengths every single day. So what he does is he goes through and he finds the shortest path through brute force. He tries every single path and then he remembers which one is the shortest one. That way he can get home in time to feed his wife and kids with all the sales and the money that he got. The unfortunate part about shortest path brute force is that it's big O factorial, n factorial. That means if there's 5 nodes, that means there's 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 possible routes. So checking all of those nodes is going to be very complicated. And I don't know about you, but like Bob, I'm a very simple man. I'm not going to do algorithmic equations in my head. So, and Bob doesn't have GPS. So what could he do better? Well, just to point it out, if it weren't obvious, I made this a very simple example. A, B, C, D is all in order there, and it is the shortest path. However, we can't really apply this. This isn't practical, it's too simple, and the approach in finding the shortest path is horribly inefficient. So what can we do? How can we help Bob out here? Because he just found out that he picked up 2 more stops, and now his daily commute looks like this. And as complicated as that looks, that's even still too simple of an example to represent a real-world problem. So what do we need to do with all of these data points? How do we keep them in line? Well, where there's data, there's an information system willing to manage it, and an information system for this type of data is called a GIS system, otherwise known as a geographic information system. I'm going to take a breath. All right, back at it. So just to reiterate, GIS stands for Geospatial Information System, and what this means is this is the hardware and software that you're going to be using to analyze this kind of location data, this data about a place. Solving the where, we're always worried about the what, the how, and the why. GIS helps you with the where, and it's a combination of both software and hardware. I use ArcGIS, it's a premium subscription, I don't recommend it. If you want a free open source alternative, there's QGIS. And there's also hardware involved. This data doesn't just appear out of nowhere, it has to go get captured. So we're going to send our drones out there, we're going to send our satellites out there, and when they come back with all that data, we're going to sense it with our eyeballs, which is the most reliable hardware known to man. So now that we know what GIS is, and we can kind of start to apply what we know about GIS to the traveling salesman problem, I'd like to make the traveling salesman problem a little more personal to me. If you don't know, or if you missed it on the first slide there, I am a graduate student, and what's commonly known about graduate students is that they're poor. They're spending all their money on tuition. So one thing that you should know about me, at least for the sake of this example, is that I am also a very voracious reader. I love books, and I may or may not have a library card for every library in Trumbull County. Now let's say, for example, I checked out a book and they're all due on the same day. I can't give up my ramen money to pay library fees, so I need to find the most efficient path between every library in Trumbull County. How do I do that? Well, thankfully, I don't have to do it. GIS does. I just push buttons and it makes magic happen. So I'm going to switch over to GIS and hopefully it works. All right, let's get this show on the road. So if you're familiar with this little side of Ohio, we got Youngstown.
And we can only see your slide.
Ah! I think I'm still in full screen mode. That's probably why.
That was good, Kermit.
All right, can you see my map now?
No.
No!
I found it.
Oh, this is not duplicate. This is terrible. Hold on. I thought it would save my settings. I was wrong. I love Windows, can you tell? Alright, keep changes. Awesome. We're looking at the same thing now. We recovered. Back to ArcGIS. I'm going to start to ingress some of my data. To make this analysis, I need to know what all the roads are in Mahoning County. Thankfully for me, someone has already gone out and cataloged all the roads, so I can just drop them into this application. This is what's known as a network layer. I'm then going to geocode all the libraries in Trumbull County. I've already... What's that?
1 minute.
Oh God. Here's all the spots, they're libraries, you know how they work. And here's what I'm going to do with all those libraries. I am going to create the shortest path between all of them by going to route. And this is where the rest of my minute is going to go. All right. And while it's
give you a
just...
pass for technical difficulties. Keep rolling.
Appreciate you. And while this is kind of thinking about this, I'm going to talk about what it's about to do, just to make sure there isn't dead air. What it's about to do is instead of the shortest path via brute force, it's going to apply a much more sophisticated pathfinding algorithm known as Dreischke's algorithm, if anyone's heard of that. So, now that I've got my analysis layer ready, what I'm going to do is go into route layer. I'm going to tell my route layer where all my libraries are. All right, here you go. Do you know where they are? It's going to verify that it knows where all the libraries are. And I know that it knows where all the libraries are because now it turned green. And our next step is we're going to set this to use find best, which is just code for Dreischke's algorithm. We're going to go ahead and hit run. And you see on the right there, it's going to walk me through each step of the algorithm as it works on it. I can actually expand that and show details, but I'm worried if I do so that my application will crash. So I'm just going to trust the process. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Without having to lift a finger or do any mathematical algorithms, ArcGIS has shown me the shortest path. Looks like it's starting from the bottom left here, all the way to the top right, and that is the shortest path between each library, guaranteeing that I can turn in each book before there's library due fees. All right. Whoa. And with the time that I have left, here's what happened. We put the data into the application. We used the Route Finder to create a network analyst tool. It utilized Dreischke's algorithm to find the shortest path. And it's worth noting that it started in one location and it ended in one location. So no nodes were reused. Where am I on time?
You're done.
Awesome. All right, so final words. I do stuff like this all the time and I post it on LinkedIn. There's a QR code, who cares? The other QR code is way cooler. I actually built something in ArcGIS where if you click on a body of water in the Mahoning County, it'll tell you in 50 years which roads will be under that body of water. So if you want to play around with that, that's the bigger QR code on the right. And if you're opening it on mobile, turn it landscape for the best experience. This has been Anthony Hake. Thank you.